All right, all right. It's time. It's time for the guitar live stream. The Ask Me Anything live stream. Sort of a last minute idea here. Okay, I got 8 people here. It's it's kind of a last minute idea. Something I've been meaning to do for a while, but I got a little booking the live stream guests kind of got away from me a little bit this week. What's up, Aniket? The vibes are good, man. The vibes are good. So yeah, it's gonna be a whole different kind of thing today. It's something of an experiment. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's not gonna go badly. You're not gonna unlearn guitar stuff here. You're gonna either learn a ton, some. You're definitely gonna learn something. But what's up, Juan? I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is that this is gonna be. It'll be loose because I'm just going to take requests of types of stuff that you might want to know about my playing in general, music theory, improvisation, writing on the guitar, technique stuff, practice. Also, what I'm thinking is I want to put in a little plug ahead of time. What's up, Brett? I want to put in a little plug ahead of time, which is that this is going to be kind of like a sample of stuff that will be happening on the channel in a more rigorous way, like in the future. So this is like, I didn't prepare anything for this, except for an entire life of playing this instrument. So, but yeah, I don't have any lesson plans for this, but that's why I'm calling it an AMA and not a lesson. But what I'm going to be offering some stuff starting in the new year. I'm going to drop this Patreon, right? So there's going to be a Patreon, and some of the exclusive content that people are going to get with the Patreon when that happens, some of the exclusive content is going to be actual guitar lessons that are like prepared, you know, where like I actually really like have a focus and a theme and stuff. So yeah, this is like a little taste of what that could be. And also, I want to put this out there. I don't know if everyone knows, like, I teach guitar for money. Like, that's a thing that I do. I don't, shockingly, I don't make a full living off of Extra Life and Psalm Zero, okay? I know that probably blows everyone's mind that I actually have a day job. But, yeah, but I teach guitar. So, I mean, if anybody wants to just do Skype lessons and shit, that, you know, hit me up. I'm with it. I'm totally with it. So, check this out. So I've got the new display thing here. Look at that. What do you guys know about that shit, huh? I always noodle on jazz for whatever reason. And so, all right, so I got that view. StreamYard only allows you to add one extra camera. So for this, the only 2 views are going to be my face and the fret cam. But I'm actually, in the future, I'm going to add like a picking hand, a right hand cam. So I think maybe I'll have to switch over to Zoom or something. But yeah, the platform I'm using only allows you to have 2 cameras. But yeah. So we got some folks. Got 13 folks. I mean, we could just get into it. We could totally just get right into it if people have questions. Like I said, it's an AMA, so I've got nothing in the works prepared. I got this new Deicide shirt that I got at at one of these huge merch tables where they're selling merch for other bands, you know, aside from the bands. Favorite alternate tuning. All right, let's see. Al wants to know, unless your name is AI. I love thinking that maybe Al is named AI. No, but what's up, Al? Al asks, do I have a favorite alternate tuning? I wish I had a cooler answer for this. My favorite alternate tuning is drop D. A very exotic, strange tuning known as drop D. What's up, Evia? I also like E flat standard, and a lot of the time that's just for like for just singing, just because I need stuff to be a half step down. And I would say my third alternate tuning is like randomly tuning all the strings like really low and slack and you know, rubbery sounding to do just like random microtonal clanging bell like sounds. That's something I do. If you could call that an alternate tuning. I've never actually gotten into what's it called? To like just intonation tuning, or like tuning where there's like really deliberate pitches that are microtonal. Haven't done that yet, which is weird because I've been writing using approximate just intonation whatever type stuff on instruments, on strings and whatnot. So yeah, maybe that could be something to check out in the meantime. Oh, by the way, tell me, can wait a sec. Can people hear the guitar like in a clear, direct sounding way? Because I actually have it plugged into the interface, not just through the mic here. I don't know if it matters that much, but yeah, let me know in the comments if you can hear that, like coming through the interface. Let's see. Okay, I'll answer the thing about shapes and concepts in a second. Yeah, acoustic DI. Let's see. We're asking. Thomas wants to know. I'm curious if anything on secular works was tuned unusually. And anything else about my playing on secular works in particular that you want to talk about. I might actually read a bunch of comments before addressing them, so maybe I can consolidate a few questions at once. Let's see. No weird tuning on secular works at all. I mean, I play baritone guitar in most of that, so that's like B standard, B to B. Like the Dan Electro twangy baritone. Juan wants to know, what tunings do I use for the latest Psalm Zero? That's like, that's drop D, man. Just, you know, the lessons learned from Helmet and various heavy bands before nu metal, where everything was like, you know, drop B, baritone guitars, etc., etc., etc. Let's see. All right, let's. I have a strictly metal background. James asks, I have a strictly metal background, but I'm looking into playing acoustic guitar specifically to learn music theory and just chord progressions in general. What do you recommend I start out with? That's a cool question. Let's see. Well, when you ask what you would when you're asking what do you recommend that what do I recommend that you start out with? Do you mean just what kind of stuff to study, just with theory in general, or are you thinking like on a technical level, like acoustic guitar playing? Because let's see, you're thinking, yeah, like you're playing acoustics specifically for music theory. Well, let's see. No, that's not. Nah, that's not such a great book. That's a really good question. I would. Well, you know what you could do? There's a book called Alfred's. I think it's Alfred's Beginner Music Theory. Let me see what this is. I think I've got the book right here. Hold on a sec. Let me see. I might have this. Yeah, this is kind of a cool This is kind of a cool book. All right. See that? Alfred's Essentials of Music Theory. It's kind of, I mean, it's based in like classical music, sort of. Damn, we've got more views for this than for some of the fucking weird Twitter freaks I have on here. That's valuable information. Hopefully I can give you valuable information. Yeah, and this book, it's kind of sick because it has ear training. It tells you, this is not a book specifically for guitarists, by the way. This is like, you know, for just musicians in general. What is this Alfred's book have in it? It's got like, Yeah, it tells you basic stuff that you probably already know, just like what the bass and treble clef is. It shows you stuff on the piano layout, but a lot this stuff can all be learned on guitar. It teaches you, yeah, ear training, so that's like all the different intervals, and you learn how to identify those intervals and sing them. And I mean, I think the most important thing for basic music theory is like learning like Roman numerals, the Roman numeral chords, like how to identify chords Roman numeral wise. Like you're in the key of C, therefore C is the 1 chord, D minor is the 2 chord, E minor is the 3 chord. You learn what a borrowed chord is. You learn what secondary dominants are, what it means to change keys. That kind of stuff is useful for rock music, pop music, jazz, even metal. Although I don't know, like you might be already onto some super far out shit with metal, but in any case, yeah, okay, but here's another thing. This is actually kind of cool advice. When you're going through a book like this, or any other kind of music theory book that's like sort of based in classical, I would recommend there's stuff you can breeze over, specifically like figured bass. I won't explain what that is, but there's certain stuff that's like specifically classical that goes beyond just the Roman numeral analysis chord progression stuff, and it goes beyond just intervals, where you're getting into stuff that's kind of like 18th century specific classical music stuff, figured bass, that is interesting, but whatever. Counterpoint is another thing that I love, but you do not need to study as a part of basic music theory. It's very classical, but I love it. I recommend that, but that's different. All right, so that's a little something. Yeah, let's see. Why do I like drop D? What about it helps me express my ideas? I mean, some of this stuff is just habit, man. Some of it really is just habits. You get into something. The only reason I liked drop D is because you can play power chords just by moving your finger around like that. That's really the only reason. And so so that's why it's for Psalm 0. I do that. Extra Life, I don't. Let's see. Yeah. What? Right. The James asked, what's the yeah, that book is called the Alfred. What is it again? Let me check it out. Yeah, Alfred's Essentials of Music Theory. Again, you can skim, but it's really good. Yeah, really the number one. Really, it's the most fun. Yeah, there's Roman numeral analysis, which is not that complicated, but you should absolutely learn, and knowing what all the intervals are and being able to sing them and play them. Here. This is let me show you a little something. It is really good if you're starting on music theory to know what the shapes are of different intervals, because intervals are basically like the DNA of music. And look, I know for some of you this is like completely basic and you know it already, and it's like day one shit. For some of you this is like completely like high tech shit. So everyone's at different levels here, but an interval is just like a distance between two notes, right? So a fifth, a perfect fifth is an interval. I'm not going to teach every single one of these, but like that's a perfect fifth. It has a certain sound, and on the guitar it's a shape. It's that shape. You can move it up again, move it up again. Right? Same, different notes, but same shape, same relative relation between the notes, right? All right. A perfect fifth is what a power chord is, right? Right. That's those are all fifths. So you learn what a fifth is, and this helps your writing, your improvisation, everything. And it's not gonna take the magic out of music or whatever. Well, you know it's not. You're already asking to learn music theory. All right, so yeah, like if you learn how to sing that has a certain flavor to it. It's a perfect fifth. Then you learn what a minor sixth is. That's a shape. You can move that shape around. Yeah, and you learn how to sing that. Major sixth. It's really valuable for like figuring stuff out, and yeah, you know, for improvising. So it's like, and not that you would think about this consciously, but you could be like, perfect fifth, major third, major second, major third, minor sixth, perfect fifth. It's like these little building blocks of color, you know? Nice, James. I'm glad you're feeling this. Let's see. I'm gonna go back. The Midst asks, how did you go about writing guitar parts and chord progressions from Castavet? So I was not in Castavet. That was the other guy from Psalm Zero. You know, the first, like, most of the Psalm Zero time. Andrew Hawk. He's the Castavet guy. Castavet was great. And I don't take credit for that. That guy is kind of a scumbag, so I don't take any responsibility for who that motherfucker is. But yeah, actually, I'm not. Maybe that comment is actually trolling me. It's possible. Whatever. Let's see. There are many wonderful compliments and praise, which is making me very happy, but I won't dwell. Morgan, what's up, homie? Morgan asks, what is happening on the breakdown riff on Coming Apart? Trying to play it and you need to tune to drop D for one note, but then it seems impossible to play the sliding notes without using an open E. Okay. I will probably answer this, but let me take a look at some other things. Let's see. Yeah, no apologies necessary, the midst. Let's see. Yeah, Morgan, I might get to your Coming Apart thing. It's very, very complex, though. Let's see. How come I decided on a baritone for Extra Life? I can't remember. I guess I had a baritone at the time that I had gotten recently back in the day, and I was just kind of into messing around with it. And that kind of just was where the original riffs came from. How do you feel about the modern approach to guitar within experimental avant-garde music? How do I feel about the modern approach? There are some interesting improvisers doing some cool stuff on the guitar that I really like. If that side of experimental avant-garde music, I would say definitely check out Brandon Seabrook. Brandon Seabrook has got some shit going on. That dude is real. Let's see. I actually learned about interval names too late, Juan says. It's not too late, man. It's not too late for you. All right. Well, let's see. Morgan wants to know about the breakdown riff on Coming Apart. By the way, this is a thing. I may do I definitely am gonna do some full-on tutorials on like some of the more popular Extra Life songs, especially the new stuff. So that, yeah, there's gonna be full-on tutorial videos with like a bunch of cameras, like high production value. Yeah, once I drop the Patreon and I start doing this real like high-level content. But wait, what is the breakdown part for Coming Apart? Are you sure you're not thinking Diagonal Power? You might be thinking of Diagonal Power, Morgan, because I'm trying to think about what the breakdown part. Do you mean that like Coming Apart? You mean that sort of Fiddler on the Roof riff, or are you thinking of Diagonal Power? Yeah, fill me in there. Let's see. Morgan wants to know, no, right before Idiot God. Dude, I like can't remember my own song. What happens on Coming Apart with the slides, how am I how am I not remembering how the song goes? I'm gonna is it just solo guitar on Coming Apart track 2? Right. Sorry. Yes. That song's not in a that song is, yeah, Coming Apart, that's not in an alternate tuning. That is, yeah, that's baritone, just B to B. Here, I'll play it on the acoustic. Well, okay, I'm gonna play it on the acoustic, but it's gonna sound a fourth up. So but it'll be the same riff. So what did I do? Wait, what the fuck is it? Dude, I cannot remember my own fucking song. Right. Wait, that shit was off the camera. Hold on. So it's that, but it's on baritone, so it sounds a fourth down. Looks like you'd be hitting a D on the low B string. Yep, that's right. Yeah. You were thinking it's in regular tuning, but you were thinking it's a regular guitar, but it's a baritone guitar. That's the vibe. Okay. Let me see. Juan, can you tell a little bit about the intro for Fascist Moments? That is one of my favorite things that I've ever written. And yeah, that's going to be something I'm definitely going to do a tutorial about. You know, it's funny because sometimes with writing, some of the stuff that I write on guitar, some of it is like very it's like I have an approach, like I know what I'm doing. And then other stuff, it's so intuitive and organic that it's just I'm just kind of doing it in this way that mixes with the vocals. So for that, this is another thing. This usually I have the capo on. Let's see. This is almost going to be like teaser advertisements for like future in-depth tutorials. Let's see. Yeah, the beginning of Fascist Moments, which, if people don't know, that is on the record Simple Answers, my orchestral record from 2018. All right, so let's see. What did I do on that? see how I'm sloppy on my own songs? Stars, they're just like us. Wah, wah, wah. Sorry, it's obnoxious. Yeah, so how did I think about writing? That? I'm not sure. I had the lyrics bound together. I mean, I will say this. A song like that, I'm not thinking of these as chords. That's something that's kind of good to know. I'm not thinking of it as like, I'm playing these arpeggios, but I'm not exactly thinking of it as like, oh, that's a chord with a name. That's a chord with a name. That's a chord with a name. That's not how I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it kind of in terms of counterpoint in a way. So it's like I'm playing it as arpeggios, but it's like it could be separate voices doing separate melody lines. So I'd be like bass line, and then those are the two open strings. You'd see that if I had the right hand cam, but two and then open string. Those are like middle voices, less important, right? The lowest note and the bass part and the soprano part, are always the most important, I think. Right? Bass note, middle notes, and then right, that's the upper note, and then that open B is the it's like sorry. Wait, how's it go? Right, so like is the upper note, upper voice, and then bass note, low, open, low E string, and then is the upper voice, so you've got these, the open G and D strings are like the middle voices that aren't changing as much, so it's kind of like 4-part harmony. Yeah. Dude, what? Right? Bass, tenor, alto, soprano. Bass, tenor, alto, soprano. Soprano, soprano. But I'm not thinking about that so consciously that I'm like maintaining it just as 4 voices the whole time, because there's parts where I go into like 5 different notes happening. So yeah, that would give you some sense of where I'm coming from. Let's see here. But yeah, Juan asks, I hear some minor add 9s and major chords. Yeah, that's in there. You're hearing correctly that the stuff's in there. But like my approach with writing it is not necessarily that, not really. But I think of the bass line. I mean, basically the bass line of things is the second melody. That's a pretty fundamental to my thing. Yeah, Gerald says that fretboard could do with some love. I know. That's one of my slackeriest things, is just taking care of my instruments. So yeah, I mean, yeah, like this is a thing that's sort of, it's not idiosyncratic to me or anything, but it's this thing of not thinking about things in terms of chords, but thinking of things in terms of like counterpoint, polyphony, many different voices at once, but playing them as arpeggios. That's a big thing for like what I do. So it's like there's like horizontal, horizontal as in melodies instead of chords. That's a big thing with me. So that's almost like the other side of the coin from the like Roman numeral analysis type stuff. Some of you know what I'm talking about, some of you don't. Yes, voice leading, yes. Yeah, thinking about things in terms of Roman numeral stuff is totally different. That would be like very much a vertical thing, a harmonic thing, functional harmony. And I sometimes think about stuff like that also. 7 tiers, it's, it's a lot simpler, I mean, that, yeah, like that kind of stuff I really do get into, like, minor 1, 7 1, minor 6, with a, minor 6 first inversion with a bass note back do I think normally sometimes too. Let's see other questions. What do we got? Aniket, I'm glad you like the Billie Eilish cover. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do a breakdown of Diagonal Power for sure. That's gonna be a whole thing. Definitely. Let's see. Interested in the guitar parts for In the Dead. That was actually quite a bit of Andrew on that. That was actually the only song on that Psalm Zero record. All the songs on that Psalm Zero record were like mostly my guitar writing that Andrew just played, you know? But that song in particular was Andrew wrote the original. Yeah, he wrote the generative thing for that. I tweaked his thing and added other stuff onto it, but yeah. Let's see. What do we got? This is good. I had a feeling people would ask this. Lavabo asks, what are your thoughts on atonal playing, and how do you suggest one should practice that kind of stuff on a guitar in terms of playing it as scales? Awesome question. As with all awesome questions, the answer is not going to just fall out of my mouth in perfect sentences, but I can help you a little. Let's see. In fact, I was thinking about doing an entire video, instructional tutorial on atonal guitar playing. And what is important to keep in mind when you're trying to harmonize it and use it without going too far. I love your caution. I love this spirit, the idea that things could go too far. Let's see. Let's see what the limits are. Well, atonal guitar playing, it's interesting because, I mean, if you're talking about atonal, you're just talking about stuff that isn't dealing with a key center exactly. But the thing is, if you're playing, I mean, anytime you're really getting into some deep stuff, usually you've got some parameters that you're working with, some kind of limitations. So it might not be tonal, like we're in C major and you're hearing everything in relation to this one note. Right? So even if it's not that, there's still something that you're grabbing onto. Well, some people in like an improvised context would talk about quote unquote intervallic playing. I don't think about things really in this way, but you could think about the fact that certain intervals, like I was saying, right? Certain interval, or every interval has its own color, right? Not visually, unless you're synesthesia cat, but I mean, you know, just a vibe, like a type of sound or feeling, right? So, like, right, so like a perfect fourth is, right, on the guitar, it's just, right, you know, right. Right, so that's just a bunch of perfect fourths going up. You could be doing some atonal stuff. Again, this is something that people do, but it's not really how I think of things, but it's also could be valuable because people, you know, whatever. I've read about this in books, I guess. So you could just do stuff that has a lot of fourths in it, you know? That was just doing fourths and moving the fourths all over the place. That has a very modern jazz type of sound to it, you know? It's especially good if you're in like a modal thing and like, you know, the bass is like jamming on A quite a bit and you're playing all this stuff that's going atonal, but, well, no, that's a little off topic because then it wouldn't really be atonal. You'd be hearing it in relation to A. So scratch what I just said. But anyway, that intervallic thing, that's a way where you might be playing atonally, but there's some reference point. There's an identity to it. You know what I'm saying? What else? What would be another thing about atonal playing? Yeah. I mean, by the way, that's like a thing, like certain, when atonal music, or like when classical music started to kind of move away, classical music started to move away from tonal composition, you know, there's like different ways that certain composers like would approach atonality. So like the most famous is, of course, the 12-tone system, right? So that's Schoenberg, Berg, Webern. So with that, you've got the thing called a tone row. Again, some of you, this is basic. Some of you, this is way over your head, both. But a tone row means that you are using every note of the chromatic scale. So just like every single note of the 12 notes that exist. You've got to use, you can't go back and repeat a note until you've used all the other notes. So you have to go through all 12 notes in some order before repeating a note. You could improvise that way. I don't know if that would feel like going too far. You asked, like, how do you go atonal without going too far? So here's an example. Okay, so here's a cool example. Like, if you were thinking about a tone row, right? You're thinking about that Schoenberg approach. You might have a hard time improvising. By the way, when you say atonal playing, in my head, I'm going to the place of improvising. I don't know. It's kind of hard, I think, to improvise actually adhering to just doing a tone row over again, where you literally just don't repeat a note until you've played all the other notes, unless you've got some real I don't know if it's offensive to say autistic, I mean in a good way, if you're like, you know, you're like on that coder shit brain, maybe you could improvise that way. But let's say you can't really adhere to that, but you can visually you can kind of go for that thing of playing every note before playing, you know, not repeating a note until you play every other note. So that could be, let's say you're starting on a D. Let's also say it doesn't matter. Well, no, let's start on a C, right? It doesn't matter really, because you're going to be playing every note equally. See, that's the thing with the tone row. If you're not repeating any notes before playing every other one, it's no one pitch is getting extra attention or extra weight or extra, you know, no one pitch becomes central. So you could do shit like this, right? Just visually looking at the chromatic scale, right? Looking at that and just being like, just jumping around using cool shapes. I think that was no repeated notes. You know? So what you could do is you could practice that at a slow tempo, or, you know, no tempo, no rhythm. I mean, just loose rubato. You could be like, you know, have a little game where you, within one octave, you know, you're saying like, okay, I'm within this one octave, right? I'm not gonna, which, by the way, you don't have to do that with a tone row. You can go to different octaves and shit, but you could, just for an exercise, right? You could be like, okay, I'm starting with a C. Again, C is not central. Nothing is central, but you're starting on a C, and let's say you're not gonna go above that C, right? So you could look at all the chromatic stuff in between there and just see. It's almost like don't step on a crack, you know, like when you're walking, like OCD shit. And then you could do that same thing within the range of 2 octaves, but you still can't repeat a pitch, you know, so. I may have repeated some stuff in there. It's not about doing it perfectly, but that could be a way where you're like, okay, it's atonal, and so you're not working with. I'm trying to think. Okay, you're not working with a tonal center as part of the and you're not working with a tonal center and deviating from the tonal center as part of the intrigue. The intrigue is through shapes, right? Intervals, right? So you're going around this tone row and you've got minor sixth, half step up, minor second, and then major third down, and then minor third up, fourth, minor third, major third. Each movement has a certain color, and you could do that if you do it in pairs. Where the variation of I'm gonna put my face in it just to keep everyone mentally engaged. So they're like the variety of intervals would be an interesting way of having intrigue. It seems to me when you ask, like, how do you do atonal stuff without quote unquote going too far? I don't mean to bust your chops about that. Like, I think that's actually I think that's cool that you said that, because I'm like, what could that mean? I always think, like, anything expressive or deep, there has to be some, like, reference point that you're going away from and to something central. If it's tonal, then it's tonal. That's the one chord, Oof, whatever. Right? So you're going in the key and out of the key. It's all relation. That's the sort of the intrigue. If you're doing the tone row, everything is the tone row, and so within that you're doing variation that's actually not in relation to the tone row, because you're not because it's really totalitarian. Anyway, Scott says, I usually fake the tone row improv with some contrary motion, like high notes generally coming down and low notes generally going up. Definitely gives that flavor. Yes, contrary motion is a huge thing for me, right? That's I won't go too deep into that. That just means one thing is going, that means if you have two voices, right? The top one goes down and the bottom one goes up. So, right? That's something to think of if you're thinking about stuff in terms of two melodies, or three, but let's just say two. The relative motion, where it's not just about the variety of the different intervals between them. It's not just about the variety of the intervals, but the variety of the relative motion, where sometimes you want the lower one to go up and the upper one to go down. Sometimes you want them both to go up. Right? Sometimes you want them both to go down. Sometimes that's called parallel motion. Sometimes you want oblique motion. Oblique motion is when one stays the same and the other one moves, right? So you've got like, right? Yeah. So there's all kinds of counterpoint treatises from the Renaissance who talk about that. Let's see what we got. Let's see. You know what? One more thing about atonal playing, though, that I think I was about to say, but I got sidetracked, was like okay, so I talked about the tone row, that being one thing. There's like Bartók and some other composers, I think. Bartók was doing atonal stuff that was not tone row based at all, but it's kind of a little bit more on the intervallic thing, where it's like there'd be stuff called an interval set, and okay, I'm not really qualified to teach that, but if you're interested, check out any kind of music theory that talks about interval sets. I I think an interval set is something like, if you have like a collection of notes, like, let's say it's that. An interval set could be just a little part of a minor scale, right? Let's say you have those 1, 2, 3, 4, those 5 notes, right? You have a certain, certain available intervals between them, right? You've got, so if there are those, if those are your 4 notes, then all of the combinations between them is the interval sets. You've got, that's a perfect 5th, that's a perfect 4th, that's a major 3rd, and then you've got like the other ones. You've got a minor 3rd. You've also got a minor second, a major 2nd. You've also got a minor 2nd. I have to go out of position to play that, but right, minor 2nd. Yeah, I think that's everything. Sorry. Right, so that's a certain that's certain intervals, right? It doesn't, there's no tritone. There's no tritone in there. There's no, what else does it not have? There's no minor 6th, although a major 3rd is an inverted minor 6th. In any case, that would be like an interval set. So yeah, so that's a thing where you could do, oh yeah, okay, no, but check this out. So if you do, I'm sort of giving you a bootleg thing on interval sets. Let's leave it at that. You can look that up online. Let's keep it moving. Gene says it's making his head explode. Al asks, how do you apply your concepts of melismatic singing to guitar? That's a cool question. I'd say it's more the opposite way. It would be more like for me to use melisma or to sing in a very melismatic way. That is more like, it's more like my guitar playing influences, it's more like my guitar playing influences the melisma more than the other way around, you know? Because it's funny, I don't really think of guitar as singing on the guitar. I think of singing melisma as playing an instrument on the voice, you know, because you're breaking out of words and you're not using words and you're going into pure lines, you know. That's what a line is, if you needed to hear me play a line. What was I gonna say? Here's a way that I might end up applying. I might end up applying the guitar to writing melismatic singing. I might have a thing where I'm coming up with the melody. Okay, I have lyrics, right? Usually start with text, and I will start just kind of singing the way the melody would go to the lyrics, and then I start extending usually the end of the last, you know, vowel of something. I'll start being like, oh, it's going to melismatically go off on this thing, and I'll start writing it in, you could say in my head or just on the voice, and it'll be coming upon. I might start doing that, but then maybe I get a little bit stuck and I'm like, I want it to go on longer, but I'm kind of like not really, I came up with half of it just in my head and just naturally singing, improvising, but now I'm kind of like, no, I want it to go further. So then for that, I might go onto the guitar and be like, okay, I'm gonna fiddle around on guitar to extend the melisma, you know, for what I am not really coming up with vocally. But you know, the thing is, when you write this stuff just purely on voice, you end up coming up with stuff that fits easily in your voice. You end up singing stuff that's like, even if it's weird and extended, it's somewhat easy to sing, you know? Whereas like on the guitar, I might, if I start doing, you know, like, if I start writing stuff on the guitar that I'm gonna sing, sometimes I'll write stuff that's hard that's harder to sing, you know. If I were just coming up with some melismatic singing on its own, not on the guitar, I probably wouldn't come up with like, I can sing it. Ba, 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 ba. I mean, I can do it, but I wouldn't, if I were just like, idiot God, I wouldn't be like, ba, 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 ba. I mean, I would, see, I already forgot it. See what I mean? So yeah, sometimes it's a back and a forth. Gene says, I've seen the term pitch axis used in the context of octatonicism, but only as the central axis in mirror harmony. This is actually not stuff that I know about, man. That sounds interesting as hell, though. So yeah, man. People look that up, pitch axis, and talking about octatonicism. Octatonicism, you're talking about like 8-note scales. Mirror harmony, I don't totally know about it. By the way, if anyone wants to join the Last Things Discord, you should totally do that, because we've got people in there who are talking about music stuff other than me, and people who know some things that I don't know. So yeah, if you want to know about pitch axis and octatonicism, everyone's got to join the Discord, and Eugene has to explain that. I mean, no, you don't, but it would be cool. Morgan asks, any jazz guitarists that have significantly impacted your style or approach to guitar? That's a cool question. Hold on a second. I'm like just drinking a little water there. Let's see. Oh, Vivian says, didn't Bartok do a lot of pitch axis octatonic stuff? I think so. Yes. I think that's probably a good place to start with that. One thing I can say, if you want to check out Bartok, String Quartet number 4 is a really cool place to check out his sort of, I think, pretty atonal harmony and stuff. So let's see. Diminished scale, Eugene says, octatonicism, diminished scale, which is 2 interlocked diminished arpeggios. Right. Yeah. So an 8-note scale, like. Right. Let's see. Rome Plows asks, do you have any exercises to help with ear training at all? I would say the stuff in that Alfred book is good. I mean, there's a million ways to learn that stuff. When I took basic music theory in college, there was some other book we were working out of, and there was ear training in that, and the instructor would quiz us on stuff. But yeah, I would say in that Alfred book that's got some good ear training stuff. If you're gonna just do some stuff yourself out, I would, you can just, the cool thing about guitar is that in certain ways guitar is harder than piano, obviously, to learn stuff on. But the cool thing is that intervals are crystal clear visually on guitar because they're shapes that move around, whereas like on the piano, the shapes are a little different depending on where you're at, right? So if you're like, for this, just practicing literally going perfect fifth, perfect fifth, perfect fifth, minor six, minor six, minor sixths, major six, major six, major six. I also started training myself. I can't remember what examples I used, but I would use, I would have reference songs, or pieces of music that I know really well that have a certain interval in them, and I would use that as like a reference point in my head. So like the NBC that from the TV station, the TV station channel. NBC. That starts with major six, major six. So that was something that kind of, examples of that. I can't remember all the examples that I use, but for a minor second. That's an easy one, but the theme from Jaws, I used to be like, dun, 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 dun. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, Morgan wants to know. Oh, there's so many. Yes, it's true. The shapes do change when you get to the B string, but it's good to avoid that when you're learning basic shit. Yeah, Morgan wants to know, any jazz guitars that have significantly impacted your style or approach to guitar? It's interesting, man, because I was so deep on jazz when I was younger, and I think I learned a ton from it, but a lot of what I learned doesn't really show up in my actual playing a lot. I mean, it's a lot of the stuff is really buried, you know, where it's like I studied, like, you know, back in the day. I mean, I learned jazz as a student, you know, like in high school and stuff. I mean, I was really into Wes Montgomery, Jim Hall, Pat Metheny. Yeah, I'd say, yeah, Bill Frisell, Pat Metheny, Wes Montgomery. Yeah, those are like short lists, guys. But mostly I ended up just learning music theory and intervals and like ear training in a way, almost, you know, from that. More than like style. But no, okay, you know what jazz guy influenced me in all stuff that I've done would be Bill Frisell. For sure, Bill Frisell. Because from him, I learned stuff that isn't jazz. Like the aspects of his playing that aren't really like jazz specific, I learned a lot. And this is such a simple thing that I learned from Frisell that you could learn from like anybody almost, or that you know one could learn from any genre. But for me, it just happened to be him that got me onto this. Is basically just learning how to go up and down a single string in a certain scale. So just saying like, I'm doing the high E string, and I'm just going to learn visually. This is not a technical chops finger dexterity thing. This is straight, you know, combination of ear training, but also getting to know your way around the guitar. I just learned from him the thing of practicing a major scale going up one string. That seems like baby stuff, but you don't necessarily learn that when you just learn like how to play jazz or metal or whatever. And it really opens up your mind to be able to look at, to be able to think, okay, I'm in E major. So I now can see going up this one string, I can see all the notes that are in the E major scale on that one string. And it just gives you this sense of like, just visually, like E major, all these notes light up for you. You know? So, well, I'm a little bit far away from the, you know, whatever. We don't need to go all the way up the neck. But yeah, like, sorry. Just noodling on one string in a major key is sick. I mean, it's like really, really good. And I mean, and once you get, and so something I also learned from Frisell is then you get this thing of like going up, being able to do that on two strings at once. So like, let's say you're, what would be a good thing to do? Okay, let's say you're in G major, right? So you know that. And then let's say you know on the, we're skipping the B string, and on the G string, you know, right? So you know G major on the high E string, and you know G major on the G string. And so then you play them as intervals. You play them as sixths. So that's totally Friselled out. So yeah, that's definitely something I learned from Frizzell for sure. That still influences me now. What do we got? What do we got? You weren't expecting Matheny, Morgan? Yeah, I mean, his record, Matheny's record, Question and Answer, with I don't know if you know that one, with Dave Holland and Roy Haynes. He plays like a bunch of standards. It's like the most state of the art, just shredding, out of control, like standards, but with this kind of free ornettish, like all over the place kind of thing happening. This is like really deep. Let's see what we got. Oh, I love the praise. I love the praise. I will try to take it in stride. Let's see what we got. Any other? Let's see. What do we got? Oh, by the way, this is not going to be a 3-hour stream. I mean, we're not done right now, but I think I might wind it down in like 20 minutes or whatever, because I want to give everyone a taste of the more rigorous forms of guitar instruction to come on the Last Things channel. Let's see. Oh, Vivian wants to know, everyone check out Vivian's music, by the way. Let's see. Did you talk about rhythmic approaches earlier in the stream? Yeah, that is a whole other kettle of monkeys, or barrel of fish, to be shot. Rhythmic approaches, I mean, I would have to talk about that song by song, you know, because there's rhythmic stuff that I was doing back in the day. Oh, let me bring this back. There's rhythmic stuff I was doing back in the day that I'm just totally not doing now. Not on purpose, not like I left it behind for any deliberate reason, but it's just, you know, when you're listening to certain stuff, you digest certain, you know, you are what you eat, you know, so if you're like listening to all this Anthony Braxton, you've got those you know, rhythms in your head, and that they naturally come out. And if you're just listening to Joy Division or something, then there's different rhythms that are happening. Yeah, Juan wants to know about the rhythms, and I Don't See It That Way. Yeah, that's kind of like my tour de force gauntlet of, like, you know, Olympic, you know, out of control rhythms. I'm gonna say this. I Don't See It That Way. I'm gonna do a tutorial on that. And that is very much going to be a rhythmic tutorial, because that stuff, there's no way you could figure it out by ear, because it's just like, it's hidden, you know, what the actual beat is. But you can check out that channel, Metal Music Theory, run by this really awesome dude named Calder Hannon. He did an episode all about I Don't See It That Way, where it gets kind of broken down. So even though he already broke it down on his channel, I'm going to break it down also on mine. Let's see. Yeah, Vivian wants to know, how did you come up with the end of Blackmail Blues? Yeah, some of that stuff, I don't know if I would call it like a rhythmic concept, but I might come up with, like, let me see. You know what I might do for stuff? I'll have some general image of a type of thing that's going to happen, you know? Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have some kind of typewriter-ish sounding thing that's like, you know, so it's like a general type of thing comes to my head. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to just improvise, maybe vocally or maybe on guitar. I can't remember, you know. I might be like, you know, like, okay, like, and I'll do it a little bit, and I'll keep doing it, and I'll see if I settle into a keeper version of the idea, you know? But it might not stick right away. I might just be like, okay, I know this. I know I want this typewriter Morse code kind of, you know, I know I want that kind of thing, but I'm not really coming up with like a good execution of that, you know? So then I might start thinking a little bit more deliberately, and I might be more like, yeah, Vivian says, yeah, a huge non-repeating rhythmic pattern. It's this kind of thing. It's like I sort of talk about like identity, you know, like you have like a, like sometimes it's like really consciously defined. Sometimes it's totally like organic and you're not even thinking about what the identity reference point of the thing is, but there's some kind of halfway in between, sort of conscious, sort of not thing, where like for example, that thing, I wouldn't say this is deliberate, but it's kind of subconscious. Like, I don't think, you know, like, how does that go? Wait, like, I think that's how it goes. I better relearn that because we're going to be playing that on the Extra Life tour of Europe. But yeah, if you notice with that, I don't ever play 5 notes in a row. It's always either 1 or 2 or 3, and I think there's some 4. Yeah. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. This is okay. So that's a good example. Like, it's almost all 1s, 2s, and 3s. There's a couple of 4s and a couple of 5s, right? So I might be like, okay, I might organically come out improvising the first bar or so of that. Oh no, it starts with a 4, but whatever, you know. And then I might hit a wall where I'm like, okay, that's as much as I can. That's as much as I can come up with without going back to the guitar and start getting deliberate about it. That's the most I can improvise organically in my head, but I want it to be longer. So then I'll start thinking like, oh, okay, look, this has a lot of 1s, 2s, and 3s, a few 4s, and like 1 5. So that might be like, oh, okay, that's the identity. So maybe I'll keep going with that in a deliberately conscious way. I'll hone in on a more repetitive, like, you know, like, you know, some parts that are more repetitive. Hopefully that kind of gives you a sense of the deal. Oh, something else that's cool to do, by the way, if you have like a really long thing that doesn't repeat, but it's all very self-similar. So, like, there's variety within it, but there's no overall arc of how it changes, if you know what I mean. Like, things are changing within it, but it doesn't go anywhere. It's kind of static as a block. A cool thing to do is to repeat it, but with just the beginning and the end cut off. People don't notice. It's a good way to prolong things. Also, Juan says it's almost like high-pitched gent. It is. Something very simple that a lot of you can probably hear. I used hocket on that. If anyone doesn't know, a hocket is, a hocket is where you have interlocking stuff happening, back and forth, quick back and forth between different instruments or voices. So for that, I wrote the I come up with that, but there are those holes in it, right? Right, the hiccups, you know, the rests. If you fill in each of those rests with a low thing, so then you get like la 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 right? Right, so you slow that down. I seriously think this shit is like good for your brain. It's like a corny thing to like. It's almost like a corny reason to play music in a certain way, but it's like learning this stuff and practicing it for years. It's like lifting weights for your neurological pathways. It's probably one of the reasons why I'm not just completely neurologically degenerated, because I've been like counteracting various poor life choices with some very good life choices. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see what we got here. How important? Let me see. Do you memorize rhythms by rote, or is there a specific concept pattern that glues it all together for certain songs? I memorize stuff by rote. I'm trying to think of how to answer this. Is there a concept pattern that glues it together? I don't. When you say a certain concept or pattern that glues it all together, yeah, I never write some. Well, I mean, actually, what I just said about blackmail blues might give you a sense where it's like I start doing something without thinking about a pattern or concept. There's no concept, da 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 da. But then it's like, but then once I organically write a little bit of it, then I can be like, oh, that's the concept. It's syncopated 16th note thing, mostly ones, twos, and threes. No, it's mostly twos and threes, sometimes ones, sometimes four. These aren't tuplets. I mean, just notes in a row, you know? So yeah, that would be a thing where it's like the concept is derived from what I naturally did. I mean, this is kind of a thing with composition. You know, how much is stuff intuitive and just coming out of your, you know, like just this sort of being synthesized in your subconscious and in your hands and in your ears. How much is it that versus how much is it, okay, I'm going to deliberately do these certain things. You know, people talk about how like Mozart, just like the entire symphony was like conceived in his head. I don't think that that's true. I don't believe that, actually. I think that that's like hero. I'm not against heroism as a thing, but it's that's some inflated shit. But I think that a thing about composition that can be cool if you're trying to write, I don't even want to say complex. I don't want to say complex in the sense of like crazy rhythms, crazy notes, hard to play complex, but just complex in the sense of stuff that doesn't repeat and just keeps going and is like flowing and developmental in a way, prolonged, extended, not repeating. That's like a thing where you could do something and then you derive a concept from it and then use that concept to generate some more material, and then you start maybe organically deviating from that concept that you figured out, and then you're like, oh, what are these deviations like? I'm adding an A flat. There were no A flats so far, and now I'm adding an A flat now that I'm improvising and fucking around. Okay, so now adding the A flat is the new concept. That kind of thing. Let's see. There's a. Let me see. What do we got? Killing Alzheimer's a song at a time. Yes, that's absolutely what's going on. Someone had a romantic question. Lavabo asks, this question might be a bit more romantic, but I have to ask, what kind of stuff do you see in your mind when you put notes together? What scenes, sights? Do you ever use that to write lyrics? Yeah, well, writing lyrics, it's all poetry and the human experience and a book that I read and used to be about stuff with women. Now I'm, settled down and whatever. But yeah, for lyrics, it's all liberal arts, humanities. But as far as putting notes together, well, I might be like, okay, this is going to be in a certain mode, or it's going to start out in a certain mode. I'll do that. I'll do that sometimes. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a Phrygian type thing. I might do that and then start writing from there. But I don't have crazy like synesthetic things where I'm like, oh, like this perfect fourth is a field and water and then this is fire. Like I'm not like that deep in that way. Let me see. I think you explained it quite a bit with Blackmail Blues. Do you explain it in the same way to bandmates? All of that really complex Extra Life stuff was just written out on paper, just straight up, just notation, no explanation needed, which is kind of a weird thing about the classical music approach. It's kind of crazy that people can play super complex, insane music, but like they don't have to know anything about music theory or how it might be composed or how it's built. You don't have to know any of that shit if you read music. Of course, the people I work with are all, not robots. They can function as notation reading robots, but everyone I've ever played with is into the vibes of the stuff and how it's written and how it works and all the intervals, so we might have chats about all this stuff, but I don't have to explain it in that way. But it is crazy how there are a lot of classical, virtuoso players who, don't know, what's happening. I mean, that's like a thing. I mean, there are, orchestral players who are, top-level cats who, don't actually know that we're at the, recapitulation and the sonata form and that where we are in the fugue. Because they don't need to, Although, well, if you're going to be a really deep soloist interpreter of stuff, you should know that stuff because you're going to sculpt how you play it based on this narrative of the music or whatever. But Juan asks, did you do it with software or with pencil and pen? Back in the day, I did everything. I mostly do pencil and pencil before putting it. I don't write. I never write on Sibelius ever. I write with the pencil and then just put it into Sibelius just so people can read it. In fact, in early Extra Life and with Z's, the whole vibe was not to use Sibelius and have this stuff written out and hand everybody the meticulously handwritten thing, which is so sick because it just gives people, it just has this aura of I give a fuck. It has that aura of I would die for this. I'm crazy. I spent this much time writing this out with a ruler. Alex Minchek laid that down as an MO. I don't really do that anymore, but I don't feel the need to intimidate the musicians with how much time I put into it. Labor is sick, though. Just labor on its own. Corey Brackett asks, what pedals do I use? I use Boss pedals, man. I literally just use the most basic. I'm not a gear guy. You'd be shocked at how little I know about gear. How to set up a guitar, basic stuff I do not know. Because we can't know everything, and there's only so much time in a motherfucking day. Let me see what else we got. Yeah, Blake sends sheet music via carrier pigeon. Yeah, I only work with extinct species, I've got dodo birds walking around my studio. Types of bees that you didn't even know went extinct, but totally have. Yeah. Let's see what we got. Let's see, what do we got? Scott says, I always figured nobody wants to be had, and I don't see it that way, are conceptual siblings. I often confuse the titles of those just because they're these sort of sentences, these sort of pedestrian sounding sentences for very unpedestrian music. I would not say that they're conceptual siblings. I would say that the end part of I don't see it that way, where it's chanting na 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 to lurk and creep and turn my eyes, that shit, chanting on one note is similar. And Nobody Wants to Be Had has the rapid fire, light spread evenly across the scene, I don't see it that way has the slower, another reason to lurk and creep. That has similar stuff. Nobody Wants to Be Had and See You at the Show, another sort of colloquial sounding sentence. Those are kind of conceptual siblings. Nobody Wants to Be Had and See You at the Show because of the rapid fire thing, which I got from Baroque recitative. like in Baroque opera, they have people, like, like His Majesty the King comes and we welcome him for the procession of da 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 da, and also a little bit from psalm note singing, from like liturgical music, chanting, like da 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 da. Yeah, that's so that's how those kind of relate to each other. Matt asks worst yeah, Matt wants to know worst riff challenge made good. You wanted to do, like, let's talk about how can we take the worst riff ever and make it good. I don't know what the worst riff ever is. Like, worst riff ever that's like, in the comments, name what you think is the worst riff ever. For that New York hardcore video I made, I was checking out Earth Crisis, who are not New York, they're upstate New York, but I was checking them out as a kind of foil to contrast against New York hardcore. The riff from Firestorm is pretty fucking stupid. I mean, that's like one note. Da 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 da. I mean, yeah, that's pretty bad as far as songs that have like changed the world, but like I kind of think suck. That would be yeah. Deeply unsatisfying answer. Corey Bracken says, "Yeah, you get pretty bold with the trolling, my friend. You want to go, dude? You want to go head to head for trolling? We can do it, man. We can do it." Let's see. Evia asks, "Is it Evia or Avia?" And also, do we know each other, or are you just a cool internet person that I should know, that I should get to know? Let's see. Not so guitar related, but I was listening to a lot of Z's albums, Arms. Was wondering how you thought about the composition there with like rhythms and melodies. I feel like I've kind of answered that a little bit. Let's see. Rhythms and melodies. Well, the song B is for Burning, at a concept that there's going to be, that we're going to be like going, for that, I was like, okay, for B is for Burning, I'm like, okay, there's going to be no rhythmic variation as far as tuplets or time. It's just going to be 16th notes the whole time. Da, 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 da. Like, that's the concept, minimalism. And there's going to be a drone, not a sustained drone, but a repeated note drone, right? There's going to be like, that's going to be going the whole time. And then little melodic fragments are going to be coming out, are going to happen over that. I actually can't remember how that goes. Well, actually, I haven't played it in like 14 years, but yeah, so that was kind of the thing, right? That's the general identity. This is what I'm talking about. You get something in your head, and then you're like, this is the identity of the thing, right? Going over and over again on B, little melodic fragments deviating from that. And so then I think I had a mode in mind. So I think I deliberately was like, it's going to be Mixolydian. I think that's what I ended up doing. And then I had the concept like, okay, the fragments are going to get longer. It's going to start off, and then there's going to be longer thing. It's going to, the fragments are going to grow. Right, they're going to get longer. Then there's going to be a part where it becomes more varied, longer phrases interspersed with shorter phrases, and so then I've decided it's Mixolydian mode, and it's going to Mixolydian mode. Of course, then I'm like, all right, we're going to add some notes outside of the mode, and those are going to come in later, and that's going to be a point of intrigue. I keep using the word intrigue. Is this just like, how do you have a reference point, an identity, a thing, a loose thing. It's not a rule, but it's a tendency of a thing, a type of a language, that you're working with, and then how you're going to deviate from it and come back to it. Let's see. Gerald has got some great questions, but I want to mix it up as far as who I who I answer. I think we might just go for another 10 minutes, something like that, because I got to walk the dog, and I want to leave people wanting more. Ex Orpheus asks, "What's up, dog?" Yeah. By the way, sometimes I forget who's who when you don't have your name in the thing, so I apologize if we're just boys in real life or homies, co-ed friends that exist too. It's not all just men in this thing, even though it is YouTube. Sup, dog? What are your favorite 20th century and contemporary classical works, quote unquote, written for or with electric guitar? This is a really good question because I don't have a ton, man. I really don't. There's a Helmut Lachenmann piece that I can't even remember the title of, that I tried to get into, but I don't really like it and stuff. It's like that scratch and sniff type stuff. I just don't. It's interesting, but it's kind of not though. Stuff for electric guitar, dog. I actually don't have great answers for you on that. And it's funny, Tristan. He mentions Tristan Muray's Vampire. I have to confess, I don't know the piece, even though I fuck with Murai a little bit. But okay, I could say well, the new Tyonde Braxton record, which everyone should check out. He's going to be on the live stream sometime soon. His new orchestra record with choir and guitar. This record, it's so out of control. I'm gonna ride his nuts a little more when he comes on the thing, but it's really sick with guitar. Talking about Lachenmann, the piece Movement or Movement, that has electric guitar in it. There's another one called Schwankungen am Rand, means fluctuations at the edge. That has electric guitar in it, just a little bit. It's amazing. So yeah, there might be some that I'm not thinking of right now, but let's see. Corey asks, "Tell us about your dog." He's a real complex speedball of eugenic and dysgenic. He's a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous little Chihuahua who is absolutely palsied by just health problems. Keeping this guy alive has been financially damaging to the both of us. But, this is what childless people do. They just have a money pit. Let's see. What do we got here? Really good recommendations here. Cool recommendations of 20th century pieces. Let's see what we got. Electric guitar is really neglected in classical. That's because most of us are illiterate drug addicts who can't find middle C on a fucking treble clef. That's if people don't want to work with us in classical music, because half of us electric guitarists won't even show up to rehearsal. I love these guys. These are cool questions. Lewis Jagger asked, "Do you regard all of your projects as equally worthy of consideration in melodic terms? And if so, where would you regard Sparta? That one really feels like you went to special lengths with complexity." I'm actually surprised to hear you say that, because as far as my catalog, that Sparta, that record, the whole concept was I'm going to be as normal as possible. Turns out I can't do that. But yeah, no, that record was I'm going to make a pallbearer record. That was the concept. I knew it would end up turning into medieval weirdo music, but the starting point was this is going to be the least complex thing I can do. Do you regard all your projects as equally worthy of consideration in melodic terms? Well, if we're not talking about quality or artistic depth, but you mean literally just in terms of the melodies themselves as melodies, I would say Seven Tears would not be one of, well, no, but that's melodically hooked up as well. No, it's all melodic, man. It's sort of, it's just a question of how prolonged and melismatic and complicated the melodies are, I still, when I write melodies, even when they're simple, I still am. I have pay a lot of it. I'm still very like careful with how I write them. These fucking dogs out here do not stop. That's not my dog. My dog's well behaved. That's these insane dogs from next door. You know, I still will be like, conscious of like, going up a fifth, down a major third, up a fifth, up to the octave, and then minor third, fifth, or minor sixth, fifth. That's the melody for The Last Faith. Black hole, white wall, the face of man drawn in the sand at the edge of the sea. That's the kind of thing where I didn't write that on guitar. I wrote that on voice, singing it, but it didn't just come out of me. I thought about it, going up and then going down and going up again. This balanced thing, I think so yes, all of the projects are equally worth consideration, I would say, in melodic terms. Let's go down. Yeah. Boyd invented noise, bitch. I don't know if he did, Boyd Rice. I don't know. Why are we talking about noise? I don't really, I'm definitely not a noise musician. Oh, we got Aniket started this off saying, damn, Boyd, not as interesting as Douglas P. David Tibet. Yes, Boyd Rice is not as interesting. This started with, Bert wants to know, talk about Boyd Rice. I don't think about Boyd Rice much one way or the other. He's definitely like actually the first noise music I heard about. There's this really cool book. This is off the topic of guitar, but just, I don't know. It's an interesting question. This book called The Industrial Culture Handbook from the 90s that was put out by this press or this thing called Research, R-E/search. And that kind of got me in, that taught me about Throbbing Gristle and Boyd Rice and all this kind of stuff. I find his Fash vibe to be a little bit like simple-minded, If we're talking about edgy, like dark, like canceled shit, I prefer Death in June and stuff because it's at least it's a little more artistic. It's not just like some dude being an asshole or whatever. Let's see. What do we got? Arto Lindsay. Yeah. I think hearing Arto Lindsay was like important to me just on the level of like, oh wow, you could do that. That's damn, like somebody did that. Crazy, very original mind. But but I didn't really take anything from that particularly. He's kind of using the guitar as a percussion instrument, and I mean, I'm sure I'm not the first to say that. Yeah, I probably, when I heard DNA, I was probably like for the first. Yeah, it was like for 4 months I was like obsessed with that, and then I kind of didn't follow up really. You know who is influential to me as an improviser? Not so much as not really at all. Not really at all as a writer, but if we're talking about improvising, I think I got a lot from the two guys from U.S. Maple, Todd Rittman, and how on earth am I forgetting the other guy's name? They're like so amazing. Shippy, yeah. Those two guys are like, they kind of took the Beefheart thing, the stuff, but like kind of refined it down to some more classic rock stuff where it's kind of mixing in with like blues and in a way. Well, of course, Beefheart was totally blues too, but I don't know how to describe it. Well, like they're into like ZZ Top, and like straight up classic rock vibes, but then with that no wave element and there, a lot of that sort of careful, sort of no wavy but like elegant, like. Stuff like that where it's like a little bit maybe self-consciously sloppy, but in this clearly, yeah, Mark Shippey. I know. This is, yeah, how am I forgetting? Mark Shippey and Todd Rittman. Masters, absolute masters. Yeah, you can hear that a little bit. It's like that like pretending for a second that you're not really that, you don't really have chops, but everyone knows that you have chops because it's very mannered, you know. But yeah, there's all this stuff you would expect, like you would expect me to be into, but I actually like don't fuck with. Ex Orpheus asks, do you fuck with Renaissance and Baroque guitar much? I've been digging a lot of Francois Campion, who I don't know, and Robert de Vizet. Yeah, don't know these composers. Yeah, right. You would think I do, but I don't. You know, it's the vocal thing that I get from that. You know, I also don't play any classical guitar at all. Just never got around to it. Like I don't the chops thing of how to do that. Like I don't really. I mean, I play Bach on guitar just with a flat pick, just because it's such deep music. By the way, anyone, if you don't read music at all and you just want to learn how to read music, number one thing to do is to take out a bunch of Bach. Well, I used to take out Bach stuff, anything for the solo instruments. I used to take that out from the public library in the university library and from the New York Public Library. I would just take out stacks of Bach and I would just learn it. I would learn it just note by note, even when I was just like, shit, man, this is middle C, so what? No, that's not middle C, right? No, that's middle C, right? This is the low C, right? But I would be like, you know, I'd be like, okay, wait, back to C, what? And then there's like an F. Where the fuck is that? F. Like literally that level of not knowing how to read music. I would go through Bach on that level, and you do it 20 minutes a day. Do that for like a couple of years, you'd be reading some music for sure. What do I think of Glenn Branca? Amazing music. Doesn't inspire me on the guitar as an instrument, but as music, it's amazing. I played in one of his like 100 guitar pieces years ago. Yeah. What do we got? What about groove? Eugene asks, don't mention groove. Oh, but don't mention groove. Ananthus, I can't use the type of language that you use. Wonder who this is. Is this Tony? This is someone. That's an inside joke from Extra Life. This is someone who's been in Extra Life for sure. Maybe I will find out who that is. Do I like any Brazilian music? These are really interesting, very interesting questions. I do not really know much Brazilian music. Although I think actually maybe I was like, as close as I get would be like when I was learning jazz. You know, sometimes you might do a bossa. Sometimes I would do that just to not to be an authentic Brazilian bossa guitar player, but just to like just as a different type of jazz tune to blow over, you know. So I might yeah, so I know a few of those Jobim tunes, you know. I might play over some Black Orpheus or for some like Desafinado. Yeah. Say Papangu. I don't know what that is, bruh. Vivian asks, any thoughts on Bill Orcutt? That is a name that I see, but I don't actually know who that is. Should I check out some Bill Orcutt? Aniket says, any thoughts on the American primitive, quote-unquote, guitar stuff like Fahey and Robbie Basho? Yeah, both really cool musicians that I don't, the kind of thing that hasn't influenced me on guitar at all. I don't have much kind of, you know, that kind of American folk vibe going on. But as a listener, especially on tour, I'd check out some Robbie Basho. It's pretty cool stuff. Oh, Orchid was in Harry Pussy. Okay, another cool band that I don't like. I know what they sound like. I know that record, What Was Music, which is one of the best titles for a record that I've ever heard. What Was Music? I love shit like that. Let's see who we got. Questions. Do I think sul ponticello is an effective, if underrated, technique for electric guitar? Oh, it's effective as hell. No doubt. For those that don't know what sul ponticello is, sul ponticello just means playing by the bridge. So instead of playing, you're playing, it's a twangier sound. That's mostly a thing you would do with bowed string instruments. It's less of a thing on guitar. So, yeah, I like doing that, because you could be like... give a little extra sparkle, but it's less dramatic on guitar. On bowed string instruments, going to sul ponticello really is like a very grainy kind of trebly sound. That's good. Let's see. Yeah, word. Okay, well, I do think we could probably go for hours and hours, but like I said, I want to walk the dog, and I'm starving, and I want to keep people wanting more. Hope that's not obnoxious, but yeah. In the future, I'm gonna do. Pardon me. I'm gonna I know. But also, I want to make this other video today, and I don't want to blow my voice out. Also, that's another thing. So, oh, Gerald, yeah, you're gonna be in Scotland. Yeah, totally. I'll see you there, man, for sure. But yeah, so we're gonna be like, I think I might do more of these guitar AMAs once in a while. But there's gonna be, once this Patreon drops, there's gonna be some like premium, high effort, high value type stuff, like like tutorials for am I yelling, Matt? For like, I'm gonna do a Fascist Moments tutorial. I'm probably gonna do a Sparta tutorial on that particular tune. I'm gonna do an I Don't See It That Way tutorial where I like really break it down, and yeah, and then yeah, Bert asked before you go, I'm still waiting for that Moldbug podcast. I was threatened with some consequences for having him on the stream. It's not haters, dude. It would have not been worth it, dude. It was a battles picking situation, man. Really, believe me. So yeah, whatever. It would have been cool, but it wouldn't have been that cool. I'm not trying to lose gigs and shit. Oh man, Sam, you're jumping in at the last minute. How does the guitar fare in the context of the rise of solo post club? Man, dude, you can't come in at the 11th hour with like just like the deepest questions, man. Yeah, pick a hill and die upon it. Yes, having Mr. Monarchist, race realist, edgy fucking dude on my podcast is the last hill I would want to die on. Just absolutely not. All right. Thanks for everyone for stopping by with these awesome questions. You all rule. The guitar rules. It's never ending. Lifelong students. I learned some stuff from you guys, some stuff, and just reminders to check out stuff that I like have been meaning to check out that I need to get on. Bill Orchid in particular. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I know. Okay, Matt, I got a You Suffer cover for you. All right, here it is. I made it a really muted tritone. Yeah, half Japanese. I saw Half Japanese open for Nirvana because I'm old. And I don't remember thinking very much of them, but I don't know. Maybe they rule. Huh? All right, there it is. Thanks, folks. I was twice was I know. All right. See you guys around. Absolutely hit me up about the Discord if you're not in the Discord already. All right. Peace, friends.